Okay, I think we'll get started now. I'm Joe Nieuwodomski. I'm a sales contracting officer in Region 5 out of Chicago. And for this webinar, we're going to talk about vehicle turn-in damage and when you might be able to expect an AIE or a bill back from turn-in damage on your vehicle. So if anybody has any questions, while we're going, I think there's a button where you can raise your hand or just type it into the chat, and I'll be sure to address that question. Okay, a couple things, kind of what we're going to talk about today is the first objective that we're going to try to achieve is to understand what repairs should and should not be performed prior to turning in your vehicle. There's certain items that, we will want to, repair, if they're related to safety. And then there's other ones that, we prefer that you do not repair and just let us decide whether or not it'll be repaired prior to sale. And then the second objective, sounds like there's a few other people signing on, so we'll wait another few seconds here. Okay, the second objective is to identify what is considered normal wear and tear on the vehicle and contrast that with damage that is likely from misuse, abuse, or neglect. Like I said, the first thing that we'll talk about is explain safety items that should be repaired prior to vehicle turn-in, and then we'll go on to what is considered fair wear and tear and what we consider to be damage due to misuse, abuse, and neglect. And then lastly, we do have some pictures in here that will show you some examples of items that you typically would be billed for and items that we would consider just normal wear on the vehicle throughout its life. This section right here is the section of the FPMR, the Federal Property Management Regulations, that explains that GSA will charge the using agency for all costs resulting from damage, including vandalism, theft, and parking lot damage, which occurs during the period that the vehicle is assigned to the issued agency. So that's just kind of the regulation on bill backs. Okay, so first we'll talk about repairs prior to vehicle turn-in. Repairs that should be performed is any damage or deficiency that's causing the vehicle to have unsafe operation, or to that could cause or that's just unsafe to operate. Repairs that do not want to be performing are minor body damage and basically anything else that does not affect the safe operation of the vehicle. So we'll go through some slides and we'll talk about it. But minor body damage and things like that, we prefer that left up to us to decide whether or not we're going to repair it for sale, because in many cases, repairing the vehicle will not increase the value. Here's just a few examples of some safety items that you definitely want to be repaired, and this is not just before turning in a vehicle, this is at any time when you're operating a GSA vehicle. If you have brakes that are grabbing or pulsating or grinding or not operating properly, that's definitely something we want to be repaired and to be taken care of immediately for a number of reasons. Number one, we don't want your drivers or your agency operating a vehicle that's unsafe to drive. Two, many of you probably have your vehicles delivered to you from our contractor. We don't want the contractor and their drivers to be operating a vehicle that's unsafe to drive. And lastly, we are not going to sell a vehicle to the public with it being unsafe to drive off the lot. So and that goes for any safety items. Another item that is frequent, that you'll see is if you get a rock chip on the windshield and it causes a crack. If it's in the driver's line of sight, you definitely want to have it repaired. This is kind of a gray area. If you ever feel that the vehicle is unsafe to operate, we definitely want to repair those issues. So the vehicle is safe. Generally, if the windshield is cracked, say in the very top of the windshield and it's not affecting visibility, that's one of those items that would probably, would be okay leaving until, for the remarketing group to decide whether or not it'll be repaired. Same thing with broken or cracked lights or lenses or mirrors. If it's just a small crack in, like, say, a tail light and you can't notice it up until you get, a foot or 2 feet away from the vehicle, probably doesn't need to be repaired. But if it's, where the whole lens is missing, or if there's a large hole and it could be construed as a, safety item, definitely something that we want to be to repair right away. Moving on to tires. Tires is another one that's kind of a gray area like the windshield. If the tires are bald and have no tread left whatsoever, we definitely want to, have at least that, that tire repaired, or not repaired, but replaced, so it's safe to operate, in inclement weather, or, even on dry pavement. So a question that came up by Yulana, yes, we will email this presentation out to everybody that participated. Now, if the tires, if you take it into a shop and like for an oil change, the vehicle is going to be turned in 6 months, and they say the tires are starting to, reach the end of their life, but they still, have a decent amount of tread left. That's something that we don't want to be replacing tires on every single vehicle right before we sell the vehicle. We, as taxpayers, we won't recoup those, those benefits of, purchasing those tires. So, again, only replace tires if it's a safety issue, if there's no tread left, or if you're starting to see the wires, the plies come through the tread, then we definitely want to replace those. And like I said, this is just a guideline. Any other damage or deficiency that causes, unsafe operation, definitely want to replace. If it's a suspension part, and it's in any way remotely dangerous to be driving, we definitely want to replace that, so you are not operating an unsafe vehicle. Okay, moving on. First, we'll talk about interior damage. Fair wear. The interior shouldn't be, real beat up. If there's small tears in the seats, from, getting in and out, especially if it's a taller vehicle, to get in and out, it could cause, some wear on the seats, or some small stains, that, are able to be, removed. We understand, the vehicle is being used, for your mission, and so stuff like that, we're willing to, we understand. Some items that would not be considered fair wear are, large and irremovable stains, tears or burns. If there's, everybody knows, there's, you're not supposed to smoke inside a GSA vehicle. So if there's cigarette burns, that's obviously not a fair wear and tear. If there's broken or missing parts, we'll see some pictures later on where there's, we've had some vehicles where the air vents are actually missing. That's items that are not fair wear and tear. Going back to the stains, we do have each vehicle detailed before it is sold. So, if the stain is bad enough where it's not coming out with a detail, that would be something that, would be considered not fair wear and tear. And skipping back down, the non-original equipment manufacturer, or equipment, non-OEM equipment, such as if the vehicle's law enforcement and has lights or sirens, or if there's, radios installed, in the center console, that all should be removed prior to turning the vehicle in, especially if that is your agency-owned equipment, because many times you'll put that into the next vehicle. If you do leave that non-OEM equipment in the vehicle, and which is an option for some customers, we do pay to have that removed prior to selling it. Obviously, we cannot sell a vehicle with police lights or sirens or radios to, to the public, so that is paid to be removed. That cost is obviously not normal, a normal cost, so that is something that is passed through to your agency as a bill back. I see a question from Bill here. What about body plugs placed in holes where equipment has been removed? It's a good question. We do ask that if there is additional equipment added, that it be put back to its original condition. Obviously, if like in the case of lights where they have to drill holes in the roof or, do something like that, body plugs, again, probably not considered fair wear and tear, but if there are those rubber plugs that, plug it up a whole lot better than just, say, filling it with silicone like some people do or some vendors do. So that, again, that kind of falls under the, we understand that's mission related, so that will typically you won't see a bill back for that. Okay, we have a question from, what about odors, particularly if the interior needs to be replaced? That would be not considered fair wear and tear. Usually those odors are going to be coming from, extreme use or, say somebody smoking in the vehicle. If the interior needs to be replaced, that is not something that we would consider a regular expense. So that would be definitely something that would be not considered fair wear and tear. Okay, moving on, here's a few pictures. Like I said, small seat tears like this one on the right here, that could be just caused, from getting in and out of the vehicle numerous times, throughout the life, especially if it's, say a truck or something that we're keeping a little longer than a sedan. So small items like that, we're not too concerned with, especially since that also will not, majorly affect the proceeds of the vehicle at the time of sale. So these are a couple examples of, some small seat tears that, we will consider, that's normal use. Here's a little more extreme damage. The picture on the right, obviously there is significant amount of the seat cloth missing, and as well as some of the foam. Same thing with the one on the left. The one on the left almost looks like it was cut with a knife or something like that, unnatural that caused that wear. So these are, items that, you typically might see a bill back for because it is well beyond, the normal wear and tear that our vehicles should see with keeping them, only, sedans 3 to 5 years and, light trucks, 5 to 7 years. We shouldn't be seeing, damage quite this extreme. Here's another example. You can see the seat is torn and the seat shield, that plastic piece, is also broken. Again, that is something that it is not considered fair wear and tear, and also something that you could see a bill back in relate to the damage on the vehicle. Next one, when we're talking about missing equipment, the picture on the right is missing this would be like, say, a passenger van, like a 15-passenger van or even down to minivans. If the seat is taken out and is returned missing, that is something that obviously it is not returned in the condition that it was, it was given to the customer in. Those seats, if we are to replace them, run approximately between $600 and $1,000 each. So that is also a significant, we will see a significant drop in the sale proceeds when we go to sell the vehicle, many times due to missing seats. So seats are definitely something that you want to make sure that if you remove the seats for any reason, that they are put back in and that they are returned with the vehicle. The picture on the left is kind of an interesting one. The seat back is bent and almost looks like it's caved in a little bit. What probably happened on this is the agency was hauling something heavy, and rather than take the seats out or using a cargo van, they just placed it on top of the seats, and it was so heavy that it actually collapsed the support inside for the seats. And this is something that is misuse because they should have either removed the seats or used a cargo van. And so this is something that you might see as a bill back. Another item, especially on like say passenger vans and cargo vans, there is a center console, with the cup holders, and it has a small glove box. The common item that is missing or was taken out for extra space inside the vehicle, that definitely anything that's missing like that is going to be a bill back. So just want to make sure that, basically that the vehicles were returned to in as close to the original condition as when you received it. Got a question here for what is the average bill back for carpet and upholstery cleaning? We don't actually, on the sales side, when you turn a vehicle in, we do not bill back for carpet and upholstery cleaning unless it was outside of a normal detail. So if we pay to have each vehicle fully detailed prior to sale, and if it's something that we feel that it needs extra cleaning in order to clean the vehicle, then you might see a bill back. It would be, if I had to put a number on it, maybe $100 at the most. That's a very rare case. Typically, the full detail, it gets it clean enough and is satisfactory for us to be able to sell it. As I mentioned earlier, here's the missing vent, out of a 12 or 15 passenger van. Obviously, this is not normal use and not fair wear and tear. So these are items that you could be billed for if the vehicle's returned like this. Really, there's no reason why a vehicle needs to be returned like this. There's no reason the vents would need to be removed. So, even if it was a situation where the headliner deteriorated and the vents actually fell out, return those vents with us, and we'll try to make sure that they're reinstalled. Yolanda, yes, Rob is going to send out copies of the presentation after the webinar. Here's a pretty obvious example for not fair wear and tear. The headliner of this vehicle is, severely damaged and torn. Again, there's not a real justifiable reason why this would be, part of the agency, or this would happen during the agency's normal mission. So here's just another example of something that would not be considered fair wear and tear. And lastly, here's just another example of something missing. This is once again a van where the inner panel is missing. Now, one thing I do want to mention is if you have a vehicle like this and a panel is missing like that, just because it's missing, we don't necessarily want you to go right before you're turning in the vehicle, go out and have that repaired and purchased. If it just broke throughout the vehicle's life and the vehicle's mission, that's one of those still kind of the type of item that we would rather you just leave as it is, and then it's up to the sales contracting officer or the remarketing group at GSA to determine whether or not we're going to replace that before it's sold. Okay, we'll pause here. We've got another question from Steve. When broken parts are replaced, do we require the original part back? If the part was actually replaced, like say, this panel here that was missing and it was broken, and you replace it, no, we do not need the original one back if it was replaced. Okay, we'll move on to some exterior damage examples here. The guidelines in here are, like I said, just guidelines. Generally, fair wear, we're going to see small dents or dings, less than an inch and a half, is normally considered fair wear and tear, and then, small scratches where it's not down into the, into the sheet metal, around less than 2 inches. That's kind of typical of, what we would consider fair wear and tear, and, you would not see a bill back. One thing, before we sell, the vehicles, we are not going to, we're not going to, repair them to make them perfect. So we understand that, there will be a few, small scratches or dents, throughout the life of the vehicle that, we'll just sell it as is, and, it will not be billed back to you. Examples of, not fair wear and tear would be holes in the sheet metal, like we talked before, if there was OEM equipment. Large dents or, hail damage, that sort of things where it's, visibly noticeable from, 10 feet or so. Scratches down to the bare metal, large scratches, throughout, there's sometimes you'll see, along the entire side of the vehicle. That's considered not fair wear and tear. As we've talked, missing OEM equipment, if the spare tire's missing, there's really no reason why that should be missing. The jack, or if there's any, OEM lights, actually missing. There's an example, in the coming slides where there's a fog light missing. So that type of thing is not going to be considered fair wear and tear. Lastly, one other thing, any additional equipment like we were talking earlier, any lights, agency decals are on there, it's not considered fair wear and tear. One thing I do want to mention with agency decals is that we would prefer that if you have, an identifying decal on your vehicle, that you do not remove it prior to being turned in. Many times, if it's not removed properly, it could damage the vehicle and cause, scratches or, even dents if you're trying to, peel it off. That's another item that, we like to have done at the auction house because they'll use, the proper equipment, heat guns, and so on, to remove the decals with as little damage as possible. So that is one, one item that I wanted to point out that we prefer that you leave on the vehicle. Okay, here's, some pictures of, some damage that, we would probably consider fair wear and, just, typical of, using the vehicle throughout its life. Picture on the left, you can see there's a very small scratch. That's nothing that you would see a bill back for, so that's nothing to really worry about. Same one with the picture on the right. You can see it's kind of hard to see, and there are some few other scratches on that door, but that's a small, fairly small dent, that, it could have happened in a parking lot or anything like that. Small items like that, we're not too concerned with, and, you won't see a bill back on, stuff like that. This I think is the same door, it's just a closer up example. This scratch is less than an inch, and, it's just a small paint chip. Again, just another example of something that, really don't need to be concerned about. And these are items that, we definitely do not want to repair right before, the vehicle's turned in. It's not going to make a difference in sale proceeds, so it's in the best interest of the taxpayer to sell the vehicle as is without repairing it. This is kind of an interesting picture. There is no bed liner in this vehicle, so this is going to be an older vehicle because at all locations here in Region 5 we are installing bed liners at the time of before the vehicle is delivered, with the only exception being if your agency specifies that they would rather have a spray-in bed liner. So while this is considered fair use because it is a truck and we understand that you're using the truck for truck purposes, we shouldn't see, quite this much damage because we are installing, bed liners now, going forward. Starting about 2 years ago, we are installing bed liners in every vehicle. So this type of damage, although it is considered, fair use or fair wear and use, typically we shouldn't see going forward because of installing of bed liners. Here's two items that we already talked about, but just some pictures to reinforce that. The picture on the left is missing the jack. If you do have to use the jack, you get a spare tire throughout the life of the vehicle, please make sure that, it's replaced into its storage location and that everything that comes with that is complete. Picture on the right shows the fog light missing, as I mentioned before. So this is, again, anything factory that, is missing or was removed, and, are items that, you could see a bill back for because it is, beyond the normal use of the vehicle and beyond, fair wear and tear. Here's a couple close-ups on, some damage that's a little more significant. These are items that, could start to affect the proceeds of the vehicle, so you might see either where we repair it or where you are billed back for this damage. These are, the one on the left is a bumper on a truck, and, that's probably a 6-inch scratch along, 2 scratches along with significant dents. The one on the right is, looks like a rear bumper, also, significant damage, to the point where it's going to affect the proceeds of the vehicle. So, again, these are probably items that, we don't want to repair prior to being turned in because they're not affecting safe operation of the vehicle. And, we would prefer that that's left up to our marketing team to make the decision on whether or not to, repair the damage before sale. Here's one that's obvious, not fair wear and use. You can see the tailgate is bent, well beyond repair, and there's significant damage in the bed. Again, the damage should be limited into the beds now because of the use of bed liners in all our vehicles. But this is an example of something that could certainly affect the proceeds of the vehicle, and that you could expect to see a bill back for. It's obviously, beyond the normal use of the vehicle, that caused this damage. A couple more examples, some larger dents. Again, as I stated before, these are items that you could see a bill back on. However, these are also items that, we prefer you not repair prior to, turning in the vehicle. I say that because especially if the vehicle is not, the damage was not caused by a third party, and you take the vehicle in to be repaired, you're going to be billed back for that damage, or for the cost of the repair from our accident management center. So we prefer that you turn the vehicle in, we make the decision if it needs to be repaired or not. Many times, we won't even repair, damage like this, and, you might not see a bill back on it. But these are examples where the damage is significant enough where it's, beyond normal wear and tear. Same thing here. Here's another example where the vehicle's probably hit something towards the front that pushed the fender and the door closer together. So then every time the driver's door opened up, it caused that damage. This is just another example of something that's beyond normal normal wear and tear that you could see a bill back on. I think this is the last example. A couple more. The one on the left, there's if there's anything like we've talked about, if there's anything missing that came with the vehicle, those are items that you could be billed for. And the one on the right is just some more significant damage onto the tailgate. It looks like they installed some sort of aftermarket lock on it, and the lock swinging back and forth caused some pretty severe damage on the tailgate there. Kind of summarize things, safety items should always be repaired regardless if, where the vehicle is at in its life. If you've had the vehicle for 1 month or, you're about to turn the vehicle in tomorrow, any safety issues, need to be, repaired, should always be repaired because we don't want don't want your drivers or our contractors or even somebody that we sell the vehicle to the public driving a vehicle that's unsafe to drive. Not all damage is considered misuse, abuse, and neglect. We do understand that there will be some minor scratches and dings that could happen throughout the life of the vehicle. So we are, like I said, we're not repairing the vehicles to like new before they're sold. So some minor damages is acceptable. We do use the same standards for fair wear and tear, across all agencies. So we do not, bill certain agencies more or less. And then lastly, damages are charged based on the actual repair or the loss of proceeds based on the damage. So, if there is significant damage and it causes a significant loss of proceeds compared to other like vehicles, then you could see a bill back for that as well. So we've got a question here. We've got a couple questions. I'll go back. Bill, can we get an itemized bill for the repairs that we are being charged for? The way our system works is when you are billed, you should receive a spreadsheet that does itemize, exactly what you're billed for. If you don't receive that, contact your FSR and they'll be able to provide that for you. And then the next question, what if the original car issued was already used and damaged prior to the initial notification to bring the GSA car in or swap out? You still be required to pay for the previous damage that you did not occur on an older car that was temporary issue. No. The best thing to do if you were issued a temporary vehicle or if you were issued what we call a reassigned vehicle that was turned in by another agency and you had a need for it and were able to assign it to you, that vehicle already has damage to it. What they should do when they issue the vehicle is also fill out a vehicle accountability form. I'm sure you're all familiar with that notates the damage on it. If there is damage, ask either the FMC where you're picking the vehicle up or the auction house for a vehicle accountability form to notate that damage, when you receive the vehicle. That way, if you do receive a charge for it, you can go back to your FSR and say this damage was already there, and then they will credit you for that. So no, you should not. If there's previous damage on the vehicle, you should not see any, any bills for that. Okay, are there any other questions? Like I said, Rob will be sending out the presentation to everybody that has logged in. And as always, feel free to contact any of us if you do have any additional questions, after the webinar or at any other time. Looks like we have one more question coming in. Is there a number for the vehicle accountability form? I will have to, I'm not really familiar with what you were asking for as far as an IA number.
Hey Joe, it's not a number on it. It's just a GSA vehicle accountability form. All it is just a inspection sheet. It just got a picture of the vehicle and then it got a list of like front bumper, left fender, and it marks off where the damages are on the vehicle. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Steve said small paint chips can cause rust. Wouldn't it make sense to have it repaired sooner rather than later? The answer to that is yes. It is kind of a judgment call. If the damage is into the paint and down to the bare metal where it is going to cause rust, that is something that should be repaired. However, what I was stressing for as far as not repairing items is if the damage occurs, close to the time of turn-in. So if if you're, you have small paint chips that you noticed and you know that you have a replacement vehicle coming, that'd be a time when we wouldn't want to, to repair the vehicle. But other than that, yes, it would. If there's anything that is going to start to rust or, become worse, definitely want to have that repaired. Don't want to shy you away from having the vehicles repaired. Like I said, this is only, when you're, getting ready to turn in a vehicle. Okay, we have who pays for hail damage. I believe you're asking for, if the vehicle is damaged in a hailstorm and you want to have it repaired, that would be something that is billed back to the customer. So that would be the agency that pays for hail damage. The vehicle's turned in with hail damage. That's one of those items that, we are not going to, replace, or we're not replace. We're not going to repair prior to it being sold. So if that's the case, then you would only pay for the loss of proceeds between the hail damage and, the vehicle that was sold without hail damage. Okay, I got a question here. What about when the thin little rubber comes off tires near the rims? Never seen this before. Not really familiar with what you're talking about. If the rubber if the tire starts to deteriorate to the point, where near the rim where it's causing a leak or anything like that, definitely want to have that replaced. But if it's just, some tires, especially brand new tires have those small little rubber tips on each, from manufacturing, that's, not a, major concern. Shelly, if that does not answer your question, please let me know. Okay, looks like we have a few other people typing, so we'll wait a few more minutes. Okay, John, I'll try to clarify for you. 5 vehicles with hail damage that you were not going to have fixed. If the vehicles are being turned, the short answer is probably not. You should not see any charges for the hail damage. So yeah, no, you should not see any charges for the hail damage because right now we're not seeing an effect on proceeds from hail damage. So you should be okay on that. John, I just want to clarify a little bit more on your hail damage.